The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Kensington Palace as Catherine stood before her dressing room mirror, her reflection showing the careful consideration etched across her face. Today was no ordinary day. The German state banquet would mark one of the most significant diplomatic events of the year, and every detail mattered more than usual. Her lady-in-waiting, Sarah, carefully arranged several jewelry options on the velvet-lined table. Among them sat a tiara that had remained hidden from public view for nearly 2 decades. The Cambridge lover's knot tiara, once beloved by Princess Diana, sparkled under the soft lighting with its distinctive pearls and diamond clusters, creating an almost ethereal glow. Catherine reached out tentatively, her fingers hovering just above the precious piece. She had worn it before, but never to such a momentous occasion. The weight of history seemed to emanate from every carefully crafted detail. Each pearl told a story of royal tradition, while the diamonds caught the light in ways that seemed to dance with memories of past generations. The preparation had begun weeks earlier when palace officials first discussed the guest list for the German state banquet. Chancellor Scholz would be attending, along with prominent figures from German politics, business, and culture. The event would showcase the enduring friendship between Britain and Germany, making it essential that every aspect of the evening reflected the gravity and warmth of this relationship. Catherine had spent considerable time studying the history of Anglo-German relations. She read about previous state visits, examined photographs from past banquets, and consulted with royal historians about appropriate protocol. Her dedication to understanding the cultural nuances impressed even the most seasoned palace staff members who had witnessed countless royal preparations over the years. The dress selection had taken equally careful consideration. Her stylist presented several options, each designed to complement the formal nature of the occasion while reflecting contemporary elegance. They settled on a stunning navy blue gown with intricate beadwork that would catch the light beautifully in the state dining room. The color choice held special significance, representing both the depth of diplomatic waters and the clear skies of friendship between nations. As Catherine prepared for the day ahead, she reflected on her role in these important diplomatic moments. Royal duties extended far beyond ceremonial appearances. Each gesture, each choice of clothing or jewelry communicated messages about values, respect, and relationship building. The responsibility felt both honored and weighty as she considered the evening ahead. Her husband, William, had left earlier for his own preparations, meeting with Foreign Office officials to review protocols and discussing key points of conversation with the German delegation. Their partnership in these formal occasions had grown stronger over the years, with each developing their own style while maintaining the unified front expected of the royal couple. The palace staff worked with clockwork precision around her. Florists arranged elaborate displays featuring roses and other blooms that would create the perfect backdrop for photographs. The kitchen staff prepared traditional British cuisine with modern touches, ensuring that dietary requirements and cultural preferences were carefully accommodated. Every element required coordination and attention to detail. Catherine's personal protection team conducted final security sweeps while maintaining the discreet presence that allowed royal events to feel welcoming rather than fortress-like. The balance between safety and accessibility required constant calibration, especially when hosting international guests who might have different security protocols in their home countries. The tiara seemed to call to her from its place on the table. She had worn it to previous events, but something about this particular evening felt different. Perhaps it was the significance of strengthening ties with Germany during a time when European unity faced various challenges. Or maybe it was her growing confidence in using fashion and jewelry choices to communicate deeper messages about continuity and respect for tradition. Sarah noticed her prolonged gaze at the tiara and smiled knowingly. After years of working together, She had learned to read Catherine's expressions and understand when particular pieces spoke to her. The Cambridge Lover's Knot had that effect. Its combination of classic design and personal history created an emotional resonance that went beyond mere aesthetic appeal. The afternoon brought final fittings and rehearsals. Catherine practiced her curtsy, reviewed the guest list one final time, and went through the evening's timeline with palace staff. From the arrival of guests to the final farewell, every minute had been planned and coordinated. Yet within this structure, there remained room for the genuine warmth and personal connections that made these diplomatic occasions meaningful rather than merely ceremonial. Her children had wished her well before heading off to their own activities, their excitement about the fancy dinner party bringing lightness to the formal preparations. Their innocent enthusiasm reminded Catherine of the human element that made these state occasions special. Behind all the protocol and tradition stood real people, building genuine relationships across national boundaries. As evening approached, Catherine felt the familiar mixture of anticipation and responsibility that accompanied major royal events. The tiara awaited its moment to shine, and she knew that by the end of the night this particular German state banquet would be remembered for reasons that extended far beyond diplomatic courtesy. Something special was about to unfold in the grand halls of Buckingham Palace. The state dining room at Buckingham Palace had been transformed into a vision of diplomatic elegance. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across the carefully set tables, while the finest china and silverware gleamed under the soft illumination. The room buzzed with quiet activity as staff made final adjustments to floral arrangements and place settings, ensuring everything met the exacting standards required for such an important occasion. Catherine stood in the private corridor adjacent to the dining room, taking deep breaths as Sarah made final adjustments to her gown. The navy blue fabric fell perfectly, creating an elegant silhouette that spoke of timeless sophistication. But it was the moment when Sarah lifted the Cambridge Lover's Knot tiara that the entire ensemble truly came together. As the tiara settled into place, secured with careful precision by experienced hands, Catherine felt a transformation that went beyond the physical. The weight of the piece seemed to ground her in centuries of royal tradition, while the dancing light from its diamonds and pearls created an almost magical aura around her face. In the nearby mirror, she saw not just herself, but a continuation of the women who had worn this crown before her. The tiara had been crafted originally for Queen Mary, later becoming one of Princess Diana's most beloved pieces. Its design featured 19 Baroque pearl drops suspended from diamond arches and lover's knot motifs, creating movement and brilliance with every turn of the head. Tonight, it would make its most significant public appearance in years, and Catherine understood the symbolic weight of that choice. Word had already spread through palace corridors about her selection of the tiara. Senior staff members who had served during Diana's time felt a particular emotion seeing the piece return to such prominence. The continuity it represented spoke to the enduring nature of the monarchy while honoring the memory of a beloved princess who had left an indelible mark on the institution. William appeared at her side, resplendent in his formal evening wear complete with military decorations that caught the light as beautifully as her jewelry. His presence steadied her nerves, and his genuine smile of admiration reminded her that beneath all the formality, they remained partners supporting each other through these demanding public roles. The German delegation had arrived earlier, and initial reports suggested they were impressed with the warmth of their reception. Chancellor Scholz had been particularly pleased with the cultural program prepared for the visit, which included exhibitions of German art in British collections and performances by musicians from both countries. These details mattered enormously in building the foundation for meaningful diplomatic conversations. As they prepared to enter the dining room, Catherine could hear the gentle murmur of conversation from the assembled guests. Representatives from both nations had gathered for this celebration of friendship, and the atmosphere promised to be both formal and genuinely warm. The evening would include toasts, cultural exchanges, and countless opportunities for relationship building that extended far beyond the official proceedings. The doors opened, and Catherine entered the state dining room with confidence that had been years in the making. The tiara caught the light from multiple chandeliers, creating a cascade of sparkles that seemed to illuminate not just her presence, but the entire room. Conversations paused momentarily as guests took in the stunning effect of her appearance, and several people could be heard commenting admiringly on her choice of jewelry. Chancellor Scholz approached with his wife, both expressing genuine pleasure at seeing Catherine again. The German First Lady particularly admired the tiara, asking about its history and significance. Catherine found herself explaining the piece's connection to Queen Mary and Princess Diana, sharing stories that brought personal warmth to what could have been a stilted formal interaction. Throughout the dinner, the tiara continued to captivate attention. Photographers captured its beauty from multiple angles, but it was the way it enhanced Catherine's natural grace and dignity that truly impressed observers. The piece seemed to amplify her genuine interest in her guests and her commitment to representing Britain with both tradition and contemporary relevance. The conversation at the head table flowed easily between English and German, with Catherine demonstrating the language skills she had been developing in preparation for increased diplomatic responsibilities. Her ability to engage with German guests in their own language created moments of delighted surprise and helped establish the personal connections that make diplomatic relationships effective. As courses were served, featuring both British and German culinary traditions, the tiara remained a constant source of fascination. Its pearls moved gently as Catherine turned to address different guests, while the diamonds caught every flicker of candlelight from the table settings. The effect created an almost hypnotic beauty that elevated the entire atmosphere of the evening. Social media had exploded with admiration for Catherine's appearance, though she remained unaware of the digital sensation she was creating. Palace social media managers watched with satisfaction as positive comments poured in from around the world, praising both her choice of jewelry and her obvious comfort in such formal diplomatic settings. The formal toasts began as the meal reached its conclusion. William spoke eloquently about the friendship between Britain and Germany, while Chancellor Scholz responded with equal warmth about shared values and mutual respect. Through it all, Catherine's tiara sparkled in the television lights, becoming an indelible part of the visual memory of this important diplomatic moment. As the evening progressed, it became clear that something special was unfolding. The combination of Catherine's stunning appearance, the warm diplomatic atmosphere, and the symbolic power of the tiara was creating a moment that would be remembered long after the last guest departed. The Cambridge lovers' knot had found its perfect moment to shine, and Catherine had found her perfect vehicle for representing the best of royal tradition in service of contemporary diplomacy. The final course had been cleared away, and the state dining room had taken on the relaxed atmosphere that marked the most successful diplomatic events. Guests lingered over coffee and conversation, clearly reluctant to end an evening that had exceeded everyone's expectations. Catherine moved gracefully between groups, the Cambridge lovers' knot tiara continuing to catch light and attention with every step she took. A particularly memorable moment occurred when she paused to speak with a group of German cultural representatives who had been discussing the role of arts in strengthening international relationships. The tiara seemed to embody their conversation topic perfectly, representing how beautiful objects could carry meaning across generations and borders. One elderly German professor remarked that seeing such historic pieces worn with contemporary confidence gave him hope for the future of European cultural connections. The evening's photographer had captured hundreds of images, but it was becoming clear that the shots of Catherine in the tiara would become the defining images of the night. Each photograph seemed to reveal new facets of the piece's beauty, while simultaneously showing Catherine's growing mastery of using royal jewelry to communicate deeper messages about tradition, respect, and continuity. As the formal portion of the evening concluded, guests moved to the adjacent reception rooms for continued conversation and cultural exchanges. Catherine found herself in a fascinating discussion with German business leaders about sustainable development initiatives, her tiara sparkling under different lighting that revealed new dimensions of its craftsmanship. The conversation flowed naturally from environmental concerns to cultural preservation, with the tiara serving as a perfect example of how treasures from the past could be honored while remaining relevant to contemporary concerns. Social media coverage had reached fever pitch, with fashion bloggers, royal watchers, and international news outlets all featuring images of Catherine's stunning appearance. The hashtag relating to her tiara choice was trending globally, with comments pouring in from around the world expressing admiration for both her style choices and her obvious comfort in such high-stakes diplomatic settings. Palace communications staff noted with satisfaction that the coverage was overwhelmingly positive and focused on the success of the diplomatic event rather than superficial fashion commentary. William rejoined her as the evening began to wind down, and together they made their final rounds, thanking guests and ensuring that everyone felt properly welcomed and appreciated. The tiara continued to draw admiring glances, but it was the warmth and sincerity of Catherine's interactions that truly impressed the departing guests. Several German officials specifically mentioned to palace staff how welcomed they had felt and how much they looked forward to future collaborations. The German chancellor's departure was marked by particularly warm farewells, with both he and his wife expressing genuine appreciation for the evening's hospitality. The chancellor mentioned specifically how impressed he had been with Catherine's knowledge of German culture and her obvious preparation for their conversations. These personal touches, he noted, made diplomatic relationships more meaningful and effective. As the last guests departed, Catherine finally allowed herself a moment to reflect on the evening's success. The tiara had performed beautifully, serving not just as magnificent jewelry, but as a bridge between past and present, between Britain and Germany, and between formal protocol and genuine human connection. She had felt Princess Diana's presence throughout the evening, not as a weight of expectation, but as a source of inspiration for using position and privilege in service of meaningful causes. The palace staff began the careful process of cleaning up after the event, but their efficiency was matched by obvious satisfaction with how smoothly everything had proceeded. Events of this scale required months of preparation and precise execution, and tonight had demonstrated the palace team's exceptional capabilities. Several staff members mentioned to colleagues that Catherine's confidence and grace had elevated every aspect of the evening. Back in her private apartments, Catherine allowed Sarah to carefully remove the tiara. Each step performed with the reverence due to such a significant piece. As the Cambridge lover's knot returned to its secure case, it seemed to carry with it the success and warmth of the evening. The tiara had done its job magnificently, serving as both beautiful ornament and meaningful symbol. The immediate aftermath brought messages of congratulation from family members who had watched the coverage, diplomatic colleagues who recognized the evening's success, and cultural organizations that understood the significance of such well-executed international events. Catherine read each message with gratitude, but her greatest satisfaction came from knowing that the evening had strengthened important relationships between nations. In the days that followed, international coverage of the banquet continued to emphasize both Catherine's stunning appearance and the diplomatic success of the event. Fashion magazines featured detailed analyses of her jewelry choice, while political commentators praised the warmth and effectiveness of the cultural diplomacy on display. The tiara had become a symbol not just of royal elegance, but of Britain's commitment to maintaining strong international relationships. The impact extended beyond immediate coverage. German media outlets featured extensive positive coverage of their leader's reception in Britain, while British outlets emphasized the successful strengthening of an important European relationship. Cultural organizations in both countries began planning collaborative initiatives inspired by the evening's success, proving that effective diplomacy could have lasting, practical benefits. Catherine's choice to wear the Cambridge lover's knot tiara to the German state banquet had achieved something remarkable. It honored the memory of Princess Diana while establishing Catherine's own legacy of meaningful royal service. The evening demonstrated how traditional royal ceremonial could serve contemporary diplomatic purposes, creating beauty and meaning that resonated far beyond the palace walls. As she prepared for bed that night, Catherine looked once more at the photographs from the evening. The tiara had sparkled magnificently, but what pleased her most was seeing how comfortable and confident she appeared in such an important role. The Cambridge lover's knot had helped her create a perfect moment of diplomatic elegance, one that would be remembered long after the headlines faded. The tiara would return to its case, but its moment of glory at the German state banquet had created new chapters in both its history and Catherine's growing legacy as a royal ambassador for Britain's values and friendships around the world.